My child, pause right there. Stop the scrolling. Stop the constant motion. Stop the noise racing through your mind and the endless list of things demanding your attention. And be still for a moment, because what I am about to speak over your life cannot wait for a more convenient hour. It cannot wait until tonight when you are less distracted. It cannot wait until the weekend when you think you will have more space. It cannot wait until you feel more worthy, more spiritual, more prepared, more certain that you deserve to hear it. I am speaking now because this exact second was appointed before you ever took your first breath. And if you brush past it casually, you will not circle back to this same intersection again in quite the same way. You did not stumble onto these words by coincidence. You were not randomly clicking through life and accidentally landed here. This message did not get lucky and find you. It was sent with precision, with intentionality, with divine timing calibrated specifically to the coordinates of your current season. And that distinction matters because I do not release my voice recklessly into the atmosphere. I do not scatter sacred truth like background music to be half heard and half forgotten. When I speak, it is targeted, it is purposeful, it is aimed directly at the hidden chambers of your heart. And right now, I am speaking into the exact place where you are standing. So do not treat this like content to consume and move on from. Do not let it become just another inspirational clip that briefly stirs you and then dissolves into the noise of your day. What is happening right now is not entertainment. It is interruption. It is rescue. It is truth reaching you before something inside you shuts down completely. And I know, even as you read this, there is a subtle resistance rising up in you, a protective instinct preparing to disengage, scanning for an exit, whispering that you have heard messages like this before and nothing changed. I know how disappointment trains the heart to stand at a distance from hope. I see the armor you have built, and I do not condemn you for wearing it. You learned to protect yourself because hope felt expensive and loss felt devastating. But I am asking you with urgency born out of love, not frustration, to lower that defense just long enough to receive what I am about to release over you. There are seasons when I whisper gently in the background of your ordinary routines, and then there are moments like this when silence would cost too much. When what I see ahead requires me to step directly into your path and say, stop, not to frighten you, not to shame you, but to prevent you from drifting somewhere you never consciously chose. Because you are standing at a turning point right now, not months from now, not when circumstances magically align, but in this week, in this chapter, in this exact emotional landscape you are walking through. You may not have labeled it yet, because you have been busy holding everything together. But your soul knows. That low hum of unease that follows you from morning to night, that quiet tension that lingers beneath your responsibilities, that sense that something needs to shift even though you cannot articulate what it is. That is not random anxiety. That is discernment. That is your spirit recognizing you are standing in a significant place, and you cannot afford to remain here indefinitely. And if you are completely satisfied, do not let it become just another inspirational clip that briefly stirs you and then dissolves into the noise of your day. What is happening right now is not entertainment. It is interruption. It is rescue. It is truth reaching you before something inside you shuts down completely. And I know even as you read this, there is a subtle resistance rising up in you, a protective instinct preparing to disengage, scanning for an exit, whispering that you have heard messages like this before and nothing changed. I know how disappointment trains the heart to stand at a distance from hope. I see the armor you have built, and I do not condemn you for wearing it. You learned to protect yourself because hope felt expensive and loss felt devastating. But I am asking you, with urgency born out of love, not frustration, to lower that defense just long enough to receive what I am about to release over you. There are seasons when I whisper gently in the background of your ordinary routines. And then there are moments like this when silence would cost too much, when what I see ahead requires me to step directly into your path and say, stop, not to frighten you, not to shame you, but to prevent you from drifting somewhere you never consciously chose, because you are standing at a turning point right now, not months from now, not when circumstances magically align, but in this week, in this chapter, in this exact emotional landscape you are walking through. You may not have labeled it yet because you have been busy holding everything together, but your soul knows. That low hum of unease that follows you from morning to night. That quiet tension that lingers beneath your responsibilities. That sense that something needs to shift even though you cannot articulate what it is. That is not random anxiety. That is discernment. That is your spirit recognizing you are standing in a significant place and you cannot afford to remain here indefinitely. And if you are completely satisfied, if your heart is vibrant and rested and alive in every way, then you are free to move on. I will not disrupt a life that is whole. But if you are tired in a way sleep does not fix, if your days look full but your soul feels undernourished, if there is a weight inside you that has no single source, yet refuses to leave, then stay, because later has become the place where nothing changes. And I love you too much to let you keep postponing your own awakening. This is not for everyone, because not everyone wants truth that requires response. But you are still here, and that means something. Something deeper than curiosity anchored you in this moment, and that is the beginning of something real. I see where you are. I see the decisions quietly forming around you. I see the habits shaping a future you did not consciously design. I see the road you will walk if nothing changes, and I see the road that opens if you turn toward me now. Both are real, but only one aligns with who you were created to become. So do not skim these words with the surface of your mind. Let them descend into the guarded places, into the parts of you that have been carrying too much for too long, because this is not the time for polite distance. This is the time for honesty. I see you beyond the composed version the world interacts with, beyond the capable face you present. I see the version of you that surfaces in the quiet hours when the performance ends and the weight settles. I see the nights when sleep would not come, when your mind replayed conversations and recalculated decisions, when 3 a.m. felt like the loneliest place on earth, and the darkness amplified every unanswered question. I was there, in that room. I heard the prayers that did not sound polished, the broken whispers, the exhausted sighs, the moments when you were not even sure what to say but you reached upward anyway. And when silence followed, you wondered if anyone was listening. But every one of those prayers reached me. None of them evaporated into emptiness. I saw how hard you tried, how you kept showing up even after disappointment reshaped your expectations, how you attempted to rebuild what collapsed, how you kept moving after betrayal altered your trust. And I need you to understand that none of that effort was wasted. Even when the results did not match your hope, your persistence mattered. I have felt the deeper exhaustion you carry, not just physical fatigue, but the kind that sits beneath your strength. The exhaustion of being the reliable one, the steady one, the strong one, when inside you wanted to admit you cannot do this alone. And here is the truth you must receive, not as a cliché, but as reality. You were never designed to sustain yourself without me. You were never meant to be your own source. The weight you have been lifting with sheer willpower was never intended to be managed by you alone. The emptiness you feel in the in-between moments is not a flaw. It is a signal. You have tried to fill it with activity, with distraction, with noise, but hunger cannot be silenced by busyness. Your soul is not malfunctioning. It is asking for nourishment. You have been functioning while empty, managing days instead of inhabiting them, pushing down. The question, is this it? Because you felt there was no time to explore it, but that question has not disappeared. It waits in the quiet, and over time you began protecting yourself by lowering your expectations, shrinking your dreams to safer dimensions, convincing yourself that this was maturity, when in truth, it was self-preservation. And in protecting yourself from disappointment, you also restricted your capacity for joy. The walls that kept pain out also filtered out fullness. And now you find yourself in something stable but not alive, carrying grief for versions of life that did not unfold as imagined. And grief and gratitude can coexist without canceling each other. Your longing is not ingratitude, it is honesty. And honesty is sacred. Your hunger is evidence of depth. Shallow souls do not ache like this. And you must hear this about the seasons that felt like abandonment. My timing is not your timeline. What felt like delay was preparation. What felt like pause was construction beneath the surface. You were not behind, you were becoming. Your wilderness was training ground. Patience was forming. Compassion was deepening. Resilience was being carved into you. Nothing was wasted. And now look at my hands extended toward you. See the marks not as symbols of defeat, but as declarations of the distance I crossed to secure your restoration. Those scars are proof that the cost has already been paid. There is nothing between you and the life you were designed for that has not already been addressed. I am not holding your past against you. I am holding my promise toward you, so reach. Not when you feel flawless, not when your doubts disappear. Reach now, trembling if necessary, desperate if necessary, because reaching is enough. And when you reach, something shifts, something breaks, something releases. And even now, as you read this, you can feel a subtle movement, the pressure easing, the tightness loosening, the weight redistributing. Not because you performed perfectly, but because presence changes atmospheres. Breathe deeper. Notice the quiet beneath the chaos. Peace is not postponed until problems resolve. It is available underneath them. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not defined by what went wrong. Hunger means you are alive. Ache means there is still capacity. And I am not distant waiting for you to improve yourself before I acknowledge you. I am here in this moment, speaking directly into your specific reality. You were never invisible, not in your doubt, not in your performance, not in your loneliness. And right now something is beginning. Chains are weakening. Fear is loosening. Heaviness is lifting. Not because you earned it, but because I move first and invite you to respond. The closed doors were protection. The delays were alignment. The reconfigurations were intentional. And the preparation is meeting the appointed moment now. This is your turning point. Not because circumstances instantly change, but because you are choosing to turn. I am asking for honest faith, not flawless faith. An open hand, not a perfect resume. And if your heart is willing, then let this be your declaration. Lord, I am tired of carrying what was never mine to hold alone. I release the weight. I open my hands. I receive your presence, your healing, your peace, your guidance. I trust that you see beyond my sight. I accept that this moment is not accidental. Lead me, restore me, walk with me. And even as you whisper that something shifts permanently, you are not the same as when you began reading. The turn has started, the opening is real, and what has begun will not be undone by tomorrow's resistance. What I initiate, I sustain. You are seen, you are known, you are not alone. The life designed for you is still ahead, and now you are moving toward it. So stay close, return to this honesty. Refuse to carry alone what was never assigned to you solo. And if this reached you exactly where you needed to be reached, then type, I receive it, and let that be your marker in time. Share this with someone silently struggling, because you are part of a greater returning happening across many lives at once, and you belong to that movement. So go forward now, not the same, not burdened the same way, but turned, opened, aware that the presence speaking to you here walks with you into every ordinary hour, into every difficult conversation, into every moment old patterns attempt to resurface, and that presence changes everything. My child, now that you have turned, now that you have whispered, yes, even if it was barely audible, even if it trembled in your chest like a fragile flame, understand this. The next part of your journey will not look the way you once imagined it would, because when I move in your life, I do not simply adjust circumstances. I transform identity, and identity transformation is deeper than external change. It is quieter at first, but far more powerful in the long run. And what has begun inside you is not emotional hype. It is not temporary inspiration. It is reorientation. It is a recalibration of your inner compass. And compasses determine destinations long before feet ever take steps. So, Do not underestimate what just happened in you. Even if the room around you looks the same, even if your phone still holds the same notifications, even if your responsibilities remain waiting where you left them, something foundational shifted. And foundations determine the stability of everything built afterward. So listen carefully, because this is where many people misunderstand the process. They expect immediate fireworks, instant reversals, dramatic visible proof that something divine occurred. But the greatest shifts often begin invisibly, like roots pushing deeper before branches stretch higher, like seeds splitting open underground where no applause is heard. And what is forming in you right now is strength that does not require constant validation to exist. You have spent seasons measuring yourself by outcomes, by responses, by who stayed and who left, by doors that opened and doors that closed. But I am inviting you into a new way of living, where your stability is not tied to external reactions, but anchored in internal alignment. Because when you are anchored in me, you are not tossed around by every change in weather. And storms will still come, conversations will still challenge you, uncertainties will still arise, but you will not be shaken the same way, because you are no longer standing on the same ground. You are standing on trust. And trust changes posture, it changes tone, it changes how you enter rooms and how you respond when pressure rises. And I know part of you fears that this peace will fade, that the clarity you feel right now will dissolve once routine resumes. But what I begin, I do not abandon halfway. I am not a spark that flickers out when life grows busy. I am a sustaining fire. And the key is not striving to maintain what happened here. The key is staying connected to the source of it. Because peace is not a product you manufacture. It is a presence you remain near. So, in the coming days when old thoughts attempt to reassert themselves, when familiar doubts whisper that nothing really changed, when fear tries to tighten its grip again, remember this moment. Remember the shift, remember the decision, and instead of arguing with the fear in your own strength, turn again toward me. Because turning is not a one-time event, it is a rhythm. It is how relationship grows, and you are not walking into a future where you must be perfect. You are walking into a future where you are partnered. And partnership means you do not carry strategy alone. You do not carry vision alone. You do not carry correction alone. I will guide you step by step, not by overwhelming you with every answer at once, but by illuminating the next right move when you need it. And sometimes, the next right move will be internal before it is external. Sometimes it will be forgiveness you have avoided. Sometimes it will be a boundary you were afraid to set. Sometimes it will be rest when your instinct is to overwork. Sometimes it will be courage to speak when your habit is to stay silent. And each small obedience will compound into transformation. You are not being asked to leap across the entire distance today. You are being invited to take the next faithful step, and that step may feel ordinary. But do not despise ordinary obedience, because extraordinary outcomes are built from consistent, quiet faithfulness. And hear me clearly, the version of you that emerges from this season will not be smaller, will not be more guarded, will not be more resigned. It will be wiser without being cynical, stronger without being hardened, softer without being naive. And that balance is holy, because I am not interested in turning you into someone who survives by shutting down. I am shaping you into someone who thrives by staying open while rooted. And yes, there will be moments when you feel the tension between the old patterns and the new path, when the comfortable habits call you back, when the urge to retreat into self-protection feels easier than staying vulnerable. But growth always stretches before it stabilizes, and stretching is not a sign you are failing, it is a sign you are expanding. And expansion makes room for more life, more impact, more joy than you have allowed yourself to anticipate. So do not shrink back when you feel that stretch. Breathe through it. Invite me into it. Because I am not observing your development from a distance. I am actively involved in it, and there will be confirmations along the way. subtle and sometimes unmistakable, conversations that align unexpectedly, opportunities that resonate deeply, moments of peace in places that once triggered anxiety. These will not be coincidences. They will be reminders that you are walking in step with something greater than your own planning. And even delays that occur from this point forward will carry different weight, because you will know they are not punishment, but positioning, not rejection, but redirection. And the more you practice bringing your fears into the light instead of hiding them, the more authority you will feel over them, because what is exposed loses its power to dominate you. And I am calling you into a season of honest dialogue, not polished spirituality, not rehearsed strength, but real conversation with me about what you feel, what you desire, what you struggle with. Because intimacy grows in honesty, and intimacy fuels confidence. And confidence anchored in relationship does not need constant approval to survive. So when you wake tomorrow and the ordinary rhythm resumes, do not look for dramatic signs before you believe this was real. Instead, look for small evidence of alignment, a calmer reaction, a clearer thought, a subtle restraint where you once would have spiraled. Those are signs of inner renovation, and inner renovation always precedes outer reconstruction. And you are being rebuilt from the inside out, not patched temporarily but renewed at the core. And as you walk forward, remember this truth firmly. You are not chasing a distant promise anymore. You are walking with the one who made the promise. And that changes everything about how you move. You are not begging for scraps of hope. You are inheriting purpose. You are not scrambling to secure your own future alone. You are co-laboring with grace. And grace is not fragile. It is resilient. It is steady. It is stronger than your worst days and more faithful than your best efforts. So lift your head as you step into what comes next, not with arrogance, but with assurance. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are no longer answering alone. And let this be settled in you now. The story is not shrinking, it is unfolding. The calling is not fading, it is clarifying. And the life designed for you is not slipping away. It is drawing nearer with every step you take in trust. So move forward, breathe deeply, stay open, return often, and know that what began in this sacred interruption is continuing beyond these words, shaping you, strengthening you, guiding you into a future that is not only endured, but fully lived, fully inhabited, fully embraced. And I am with you in every step that follows.